Boom, we are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here wherever you may be. And of course, however you may be listening. As you guys know, the protocol, got to get this all shared out. So let me go ahead and do that really quickly. Lot of stuff to get to from this game, a lot of stuff to talk about. Where to begin, as always. Iowa picks up the 26-16 victory. We'll go ahead and get this shared out here. Let me actually do this here. Like I said, just hang tight while I get this all shared out, guys. While you guys are waiting, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. You guys know the drill. Sometimes you guys get to see a little background stuff, just because I'm not always the most technically savvy. No, I'm okay. I'm not comparatively, I've learned in the corporate world in which I'm in that I take it for granted how savvy and how familiar I am with technology, because there's a lot of people who are older than myself that, like I said, I mean, I just I don't do it on purpose, but it is something that I have because of the generation I've grown up in that others simply do not. So like I said, guys, just give me a moment to share this out. If you guys could share it out too, I'd greatly appreciate it, as always. What a game, guys. Classic Iowa game. Am I right or am I right? Classic Iowa game. But I'm gonna try to be more optimistic tonight because Iowa, got the victory. And at the end of the day, Iowa is still 4-1, and it is hard not to, at times it is hard to be overly critical of the Iowa Hawkeyes because their record is better than most. I know that a lot of fans would like more because we know that the Iowa program is capable of more, but you can't argue with the fact that Iowa year in, year out is a competitive football team that wins games, and competes to play in the Big Ten championship game. So like I said, I'm going to try and be more positive, but you guys know I'm going to keep it real regardless. What I saw and things I liked, things I didn't like. So here we go. All right, that's enough sharing it out. So Iowa wins the game 26-16. Let's start with the good. I actually thought, and I turned on the game slightly late. I had a prior engagement. And when I turned on the game, Deacon Hill was the quarterback. And, just so you guys know, when I'm out and about and I can't watch the game at home, and this is a little trick for you guys. Usually the Iowa game is being pirated or broadcasted on YouTube. You guys can watch that way. And I'm in a parking lot getting gas and I see Deacon Hill in at quarterback. And so I'm typing, what happened? What's going on? Because I didn't know if Cade McNamara was ruled out before the game or if he simply got hurt during the game. And of course, he got hurt during the game because as far as I was aware, Cade McNamara was not out or ruled out before the game. And I'm going to try to say this in the most positive manner possible. Thus far, okay, let me start here. I never wish anybody ill will, okay? Of course, I don't want any Iowa players to be injured. Conversely, I was sort of optimistic about seeing Deacon Hill in the game and curious, at the very least, to see what he was capable of. The sad reality is, thus far, Cade McNamara, the results have been below average. So I actually thought, given that what it is, again, I hope Cade McNamara is okay. And, I'm not even willing to say that Cade McNamara is not Iowa's starting quarterback. I'm not there yet, okay? The results have not been the best, but I'm not willing to say that Iowa should not go back to him. But I actually thought Deacon Hill played a decent game. He did have the one INT, but if you guys take into account, well, let me start here. If you just do the eye test and just look at the balls he threw, his ability to escape the pocket, he's a big guy. I mean, he's about Nate Stanley size with the ability to move. He's 6'3", he's about 240 pounds, okay? And there were a lot of plays that he was able to extend after the breakdown of the offensive line that I don't think Cade McNamara would have been able to do. Not because Cade McNamara is unathletic. I mean, I wouldn't say he's super athletic either, but because Deacon Hill's a big guy, he's tough to take down, and, he can move for his size. I mean, coming out of high school, there were a lot of people who thought Deacon Hill, while he was a 4-star quarterback coming out of Santa Barbara, he was as highly rated a quarterback as Cade McNamara was. There were some people who thought he could be a linebacker as well because of how physically gifted he is. So if you take that into account, and you also just the eye test, and you take into account the numerous dropped balls that were placed that were very, very, very difficult throws for Deacon Hill to make, that were made because he has better arm talent than Cade McNamara. I think Deacon Hill is, if you take away his athleticism, he is a pretty prototypical Iowa quarterback with his arm strength. And if you account for the numerous dropped passes, Deontay Vines, multiple, Caleb Brown, dropped first down pass, Deacon Hill would have finished with a 15 of 27, 15 or 16 for 27 for at least 200 yards, because each one of those drop passes were first down, 8 to 15 yard throws, if not more. So I was actually very positive about Deacon Hill's performance, given that he came in a big game under the lights. I liked his performance. I did. Now, I don't want to go too overboard. He didn't light it up by any means, but if you take those things into account, it wasn't a bad night. And there were things that he was able to do to assist this Iowa offense that was better. And at times, the Iowa offense was more visibly pleasing to watch and more efficient, and the flow was better under Deacon Hill at times tonight. Now, of course, some of you guys may disagree. That's just what I saw. Okay. I thought that he had a decent night. Nothing crazy, but a decent night. Iowa's defense, of course, spectacular. Absolutely remarkable. They would have held Michigan State to 10 points if not for the terrible scoop and score touchdown that Michigan State got from the Leshon Williams fumble. Of course, I'm giving a call back to the announcers who kept calling Leshon Williams Leshon Williams. But the defense was spectacular, guys. Jay Higgins is going to be yet another Iowa Hawkeye NFL linebacker. I think he's playing himself into a top 4-round selection. Nick Jackson is going to get drafted. Iowa is going to have 2 linebackers drafted in this upcoming NFL draft. They are both playing lights out. Quinn Schultz had a good night. Xavier Wampa had a spectacular night. Deontay Craig, I thought, got to the quarterback fairly well. Now, there's still one concern I have, which I'll get to when it comes to the defensive line. Cooper DeJean. Guys, Cooper DeJean. This guy, can this guy play football or what? This guy is, he's going to be a top 2 round draft pick. This guy is, when you draw up a football player, okay, like a football player that is just a menace on defense, that just helps your team win ball games, okay? Can do a little bit of this, can do this really well, can do a little bit of that. It's Cooper DeJean. Man, did I have him correct from the get-go. From the moment he signed with Iowa, I told you guys that he was going to be a good one, because you can just see it. Sometimes, guys, the Iowa coaching staff, what they do sometimes is really awesome on the recruiting trail, finding hidden gems. But other times it's just simply that other schools just missed. Okay. And you look at a guy like Cooper DeJean, who played multiple sports. If you watched his highlights where he just dunks on people, and what he did in football, where he played multiple positions, multi-sport athlete, guys, that's a guy who's going to be successful, you know, especially when he can just focus on one sport. That guy's going to be really good. So the Iowa defense lights out. Drew Stevens had a good night. And of course, Tory Taylor did pretty well. Sebastian Castro had a pick. Cooper DeJean had a pick. Tory Taylor averaged 40. Let's see here. Is that 48? 48.9. Pin 2 inside the 20, long of 60. 342 yards. Great night. Now, the Michigan State punter was actually having a good night too, until the lights shone too brightly on him and he froze. Now to the negatives. The Iowa offense is still anemic. It is still, regardless of what I said with Deacon Hill, and I do mean every single thing I said about Deacon Hill in my assessment of his performance tonight. The offense and just the conservative nature of the Iowa football team is why Iowa will continue, at least for a little while now, be the best of the rest. Okay, they'll never be Michigan. They'll never be Ohio State. They'll always be the best of the rest, because the type of football, and I finally realized it this season, the type of football that Iowa plays is the type of football that allows you to beat all the below average teams, but doesn't allow you to compete with the big boys, because the style of football, of course, is we're just going to play as conservatively as possible, not turn the ball over, and our defense hopefully will score some points. We'll have a good punter, but we're not going to take any risks, none of that. And hopefully they make enough mistakes and we capitalize on them and we score more points than they do. Okay. But, I'll give you guys a perfect example. Okay, let me start here. Guys, Michigan State is a below average football team that does have talent. Don't get me wrong. They do have talent, but they are a below average football team that is reeling from a head coach dismissal through an SA case. Okay. An SA case. All right. So Iowa, given the fact that this was an under the lights game at home inside Kinnick, they really should have put the beat down on Michigan State, guys. Michigan State is a below average football team at this point. They do have talent, but they're still a below average football team that is reeling from a head coach dismissal. But this is Iowa football, and this is exactly what I expected. When I gave my game prediction for this game, I think I said, I think I literally nailed Iowa at 26 points. Maybe I said 23. I'll have to go back and look. And I think I said that Michigan State would score 12 or 13 points. This is a classic Iowa score. It's always 23 to 10, 23, 13, 20, 26, 16, this type of score. Now, I actually forgot, but make no mistake, guys, Michigan State is not a good football team. But there's actually one positive that I forgot to mention that I want to mention is I did like Iowa's effort to try to get the wide receivers involved. But of course, now I see why Brian Ferentz doesn't throw to the Iowa wide receivers, because they can't catch the football. And that's a problem. Now, you could say, well, you can't blame them because they've had 3 games where they haven't been targeted and they're just not used to catching football, whatever. But the bottom line is, guys, whatever excuse you want to make, the bottom line is these are Division I athletes, guys. They should have caught those balls. Okay. We're not talking offensive line going out on a route. Okay. We're talking wide receivers who catch footballs potentially for a living. Okay. They should have caught those footballs. But like I said, I do like the attempt and the upped targets of the wide receivers. Now, I also think that part of that has to do with Deacon Hill being the quarterback as opposed to Cade McNamara. I like how Iowa really tried to get Eric All involved. He's going to be another NFL tight end that Iowa gets into the league. Man, it is such a shame that we aren't going to be able to see what Eric All and Luke Lachey, aka Luke Lackey, could do in a full football season together. It sucks. Who knows? I think Eric All actually has 1 year of eligibility remaining after this year. Now it looks like he's a senior. I thought he had 2. Let me check real quick. I thought he had 2 years of eligibility remaining, but I could be mistaken. Let's see. So it was good to see Iowa targeting their wide receivers, and I hope that they continue. Another positive, I like that Brian Ferentz finally was utilizing the bubble screens, and I saw a few slants. There was a third down conversion to Seth Anderson on a slant, which is what he needs to do more of. Okay, when you have short, quick wide receivers as opposed to big body possession receivers, that is what you should do. Is quick hit passing. Oh, he's got 2 years of eligibility remaining right here. Joined program as a graduate transfer in Michigan with 2 years of eligibility remaining. So that's good. So who knows? Maybe we might have an Eric All, Luke Lachey next year, but I think Eric All is going to have a good enough season this year to go to the NFL. A negative, since I was on the negatives, Iowa's run game was terrible. It was absolutely awful. LaShawn Williams had a brutally terrible game. Now you could say, well, Nolan, Iowa has 2 true freshmen that are getting snaps. And that's true. They do. I do actually think Kamari Moulton is going to be a steal, because for those of you guys who don't know, Kamari Moulton was actually committed to play football for Florida Atlantic. Iowa had actually missed actually what happened is Iowa had a commitment from high 3-star, low 4-star running back out of Naples, Florida, Kendrick Raphael. And after Iowa's abysmal offensive performance, he decided to decommit and go play football at NC State. But I actually think Kamari Moulton and Terrell Washington are going to be good players for Iowa. So we'll see how it shakes out. But regardless, the run game was atrocious tonight. Offensive line, play call, whatever it is, the fact that Iowa was unable the fact that Iowa was 40 yards below the 100-yard mark is bad, guys. They need to fix that. That's bad, okay? They need to fix that. If they want to beat Wisconsin, they have to start running the football. That is just not going to cut it. That is very bad. I don't know how to say it, guys. Not good. And it's weird because, we saw what they did against Western Michigan. Now, granted, it's Western Michigan, okay? But the last two weeks, Iowa versus Michigan State and Penn State, Iowa's up front has not been up to the challenge. And George Barnett, his seat is very hot, guys. His seat is very, very hot. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. That's my analysis of the game. Iowa improves to 4-1. By the way, guys, if you guys want to send a donation to the channel, you absolutely can. Not a ton else. Iowa did give up 156 yards on the ground. That's a little concerning. I think a lot of them were on like bubble screens and passes behind the line of scrimmage. But, and another concern I did have is that Iowa's defensive line, again, is failing to create sacks. Now, they did get pressure on the quarterback, but as I said last week, Iowa misses Noah Shannon, who clogged up the middle and required at least some attention, and Lucas Van Ness. They missed those guys tremendously as far as the pass rush goes. I don't think Joe Evans played tonight, so perhaps that had a little something to do with it. But guys, no sacks. That's for a second straight week. That's, Iowa's got to fix that. Now, Iowa is not a huge sack team. But there is a threshold that they should try to reach. And, if it was an even closer game than tonight and an offense that actually could move the chains a little bit, there would be a lot of pressure that would be put on the backside of the defense. So, I hope Iowa can figure that out. We're 5 games into the season, and this is kind of what we have when it comes to sacks. I'm not hopeful. I think Iowa, outside of Deontay Craig, is really missing pure pass rushers. And, Joe Evans, he's a situational down defensive end. He is not a 3-down defensive end, which Iowa has been required to use. All right, guys, let me get to your guys' comments here. Let's see what you guys have to say. Oh yeah, let's look at the team stats real quick before I get to the comments. I see somebody putting the team stats up. So 14 first downs for Iowa, again, terrible. 222 yards, again, terrible. And keep in mind, guys, Iowa is putting less numbers than what we would have seen like 5 years ago. Okay. Their offense is second to last in almost all major categories offensively. And it's even worse because offenses, like modern day offenses, like the average total offensive output is like 20 or 30 yards more than what it would have been 5 years ago. So Iowa gave up 349 yards, pretty much 350. Time of possession 26-33. Iowa has been losing the time of possession battle quite often. 61 rush yards to 156. Yeah, not great numbers. Guys, to tell you the truth, if you look at the team numbers, Iowa is lucky that they escaped from this game in a win. But on the other hand, again, this is classic Iowa football, guys. How many times have we seen Iowa win a football game by double digits in which they are massively outgained by the other team? I mean, it's crazy. I've never seen anything like it. It's insane. All right, comments. Latloni, unacceptable. Michael Morin, I have so many thoughts, so I'm just going to rattle them off. My heartbreak for Cade. Looks like a guy who knows his playing days are over. 2 wide receivers need to catch better. Agreed. Shea Amos. By the way, Mike, I appreciate the comment on one of the videos. You know, I didn't really see anything crazy. So I don't think you need to worry about it. But it's always good to have some self-introspection though, but I appreciate it. Shea Amos, well, at least it was a W in the end. True, Shea, true. The eternal optimist. John Cream, I think Brian called a decent game offensively. Receiver drops and QB1 injury isn't on him. Yeah, there's probably some truth to that. Deacon Hill gives me a ton of confidence moving forward. I liked how Deacon Hill played as well. I do. Brian Ferentz called a good game tonight. I'm concerned Iowa's defense is good, not great this season. Well, the talent is there on the defensive side, but Iowa does need to find a way to get to the quarterback. That is the one thing that is missing from this Iowa defensive group, is the ability to make the quarterback uncomfortable. And I don't know how they're going to fix it, because you either have the big boys up front or you don't. And the thing is, it's not that they don't have talent up front, because they do, and they do have size. They do have athleticism. It's just not happening. It's just not, the stats just aren't there with the sacks and the tackle for loss. So we'll see what happens. Maybe it gets better, but that is definitely a concern of mine as well. Fast outdoor food, they are bad. CJ Smith, that was a game. Ari Gold, boom. Thanks, Ari. Michael Morin. Deacon Hill looked better than Cade has. That's not a controversial opinion, to be honest. The interception wasn't really all on him either. John Cream, it's weird. Brian seems more aggressive play calling with Deacon despite him being backup. That's a good point. But I also think that it was just the natural kind of what Iowa was looking to do. It was the strategy for this game. They knew that they needed to be a little bit more aggressive, but I agree with you. I mean, I think that that's telling. But at the same time, I think it's just Deacon Hill's ability as well that maybe made Brian look better tonight. That Cade doesn't have. Cade is an excellent leader, guys. He's a great locker room guy, but as far as the natural quarterback talent, Deacon Hill and Joe Labus have more natural quarterback talent than Cade does. And if Brian really wanted Cade to be successful, what he would do is start incorporating short to intermediate passing schemes more towards the short, because that is the type of quarterback Cade McNamara is. He's not a guy who hits medium to long routes at ease. He just doesn't. Deacon Hill is a big boy, looks like a lineman. He is. I mean, a lot of people thought that he could have been a linebacker coming out of high school. Michael Takahashi. I know I might sound like I'm hating, which I'm not. The Big Ten West is so freaking weak. Iowa is, to be honest, not a great team and still might win the Big Ten West. Iowa is not a great team right now. They're above. I would categorize Iowa as an above average team right now. And I agree the Big Ten West is awful. And there's no consistency in the Big Ten West thus far. I was actually going to go over some of the Big Ten scores. I can just rattle them off. I'll do them. I'll go over them in my Big Ten Whip Around show. Purdue smacked Illinois, which was the big one. Nebraska got shellacked by Michigan. I believe Rutgers beat Indiana. That was an East matchup. So I agree. The Big Ten West is not good. And Iowa is definitely going to have to. I read an article last week in wake of Iowa's defeat to Penn State. Iowa is going to, they will be in trouble if they don't truthfully provide some self-introspection, because once these divisions are gone, Iowa's not going to be able to play this type of football and hope to win 9-10 games. They're just not. A large reason that they're able to is because they compete in the Big Ten West. So I find that amusingly amazing. Michael Takahashi. Ari Gold, awesome t-shirt. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. We must take advantage of our opportunity before USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon come next year. Agreed. I don't know if Washington and Oregon come next year, but USC and UCLA do for sure. I'd have to double check on Washington, Oregon. It's kind of hard to keep track with all that stuff. NBC said 4 drops tonight. I think there was at least double that. O-line is atrocious. Kurt Yedick agreed. The O-line is so bad. Hard to move the ball when you only have 61 yards rushing. True, but that's because the O-line stinks. Cade is done dealing. Pork Chop Hill played fine. Agreed. So you picked up on that Lee Sean Circus Act 2, huh? Yeah, I thought that was so stupid that the guy kept kind of Lee Sean Williams. Don't these guys talk to one another before the games? Play calling wasn't terrible. I agree, Taco Time. Cooper had been having a quiet season before tonight. I'll go one step further than you and say he's a first-round pick. Yeah, he's a great football player. With that catch in the end zone, I'd have him play wide receiver as well. Yeah, I don't see why not. I think that's a great point. I mean, he's an athletic freak. Like I said, if you were to come up with a pure football player, it would be Cooper DeJean. On almost every level. Castro is a stud too. By the way, I don't know if you guys have seen Cooper DeJean's parents, but it's kind of surprising that they basically created a Division I / future NFL first round draft pick. But we're glad to have him nonetheless. Castro is my favorite player. Yeah, I think Castro will be an NFL guy too. Good win until we see how bad Michigan State is at the end of the year. Yeah, Michigan State's a bad team. Should run Cooper as Wildcat quarterback. Agreed. Where did the Wildcat quarterback go, guys? What happened to that? Kurt not going for it on 4th down irked me a little. It worked though, and that's why he's making $10 million a year. Yeah, true. Will Bryant, but I actually wanted to talk about that. That is why Iowa's offense is last in the country, because they get the ball at the 35-yard line. And I really wanted to talk about this. And they proceed to go backwards and then forward a little bit, only to kick a field goal. Good offensive teams or average offensive teams punch that in the end zone. They put their foot on the opponent's throat and they punch it in. It's as simple as that. And that's just another example of Iowa's offense being completely anemic on many levels. Running back from Michigan is super talented. Yeah, it sounds like they had another running back too that was out. That's pretty good. Love the fire Brian Chance. That's going to continue. Is it anemic or do we just drop too many passes? I would say both can be true. I think it's both. Our wide receivers can't catch a cold. True that. 2 MSU players down at the same time near end of the game. Had to be the ghost of D'Antonio Pass paying a return visit. Does John still play wide receiver? Can catch the ball. Jim, too risky. Yeah, that's true. He would definitely increase his injury likelihood. Moulton should be RB1 until Jazz and Williams are back. Maybe. I do like the way Moulton runs, and I think he's going to be a decent running back for Iowa. We have but we've seen it before. I mean, we've seen running backs look good, and then a year goes by, and you're like, man, last year he was this. I mean, it can be odd at times, but for now he looks good. Can we just not play the Big Ten championship game this year? All the Big Ten West teams would get smacked by Michigan, Ohio State, or Penn State. Yeah, true. Ari Gold, Kelton Copeland needs to be fired if he doesn't fix the 7 drops. Wisconsin has a shot in the championship. Yeah, I think it's Iowa and Wisconsin at the top of the Big Ten West. There's tiers in the Big Ten. There's tier 1, which is Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State. There's tier 2, which is Iowa, Wisconsin, Rutgers, and maybe Maryland. And then there's everybody else. So, all right, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Iowa improves to 4-1. Be sure to like the video, please. If you guys aren't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. I will have you guys covered on the Big Ten Whip Around show. I appreciate you guys, as always, joining me tonight. You guys are the best fans in the world. I cannot say that enough. And I love doing this. So thank you. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy, Willow. And facts are feelings, because your feelings still matter. Love you guys. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.